It's good to see you today, chat. Hope you're having a beautiful Friday. And today we're going to be doing a gluten-free recipe for you folks for if you're a celiac or gluten-free, or you just want a little bit more of a healthier dish. We're going to be doing ourselves a gluten-free polenta lasagna. Now, technically you could argue with me and say it's not lasagna, which you're probably right, but this is an alternative, something a little bit different. So very straightforward, very easy dish. So we're going to get the meat mix done. Also, we're going to get the polenta with some cheese in there, some parm, and some layers of mozzarella on there. And then we're going to serve it with some broccoli, spinach, and kale. I'm going to cook that off with a little bit of garlic. Maybe I'll finish off with a little bit of lemon juice just to serve with it. So you could do your own veggies if you want to. That's fine. But we're going to make a start for today. Actually, before we even start the polenta, this is two easy, well, technically three easy things, but this should be a nice, short, quick, little snappy dish. I say short and sweet, but we've got to wait for the beef about an hour or two to cook down slow and low, so we can get the veggies cooked off and that. But the first thing we want to do is get that beef mix on first, and we're going to need to dice up 1 whole onion. We also want 4 garlic cloves. I'm going to dice down 2 whole tomatoes, 1 red bell pepper as well into a nice dice, de-seeded as well. In addition, we're going to have a can of tomatoes in there. We're also going to have a little touch of Marmite just for a teaspoon to enrich in it. Also a teaspoon of dried basil and a teaspoon of dried oregano. Topped up with a little bit of water as well so we can cook down for about 2 minutes. And obviously that ground beef as well that we're going to have in there, which we're going to sear off into a pan and then put it into the large pan as well. So let's get that on the go. Get that bubbling down, cooking away for about an hour or two. So should be good to go. So top and tail our onion, cut it in half. And then we're pretty much going to take the skins off, and then we're going to cut it down horizontally, then vertically, and then across into a nice dice. I'm going to cut this horizontally, obviously keeping the root intact, okay? So the more layers you put through this, the more finer dice you're going to get out of this. And then pretty much just want to cut this across. And then when you get to the root, we'll do exactly the same thing again. So, same again. Just cutting down a few little layers, turn it on its side. It's a little bit tricky, but it's doable. It's all falling apart now. There we go. And then just cut straight across. So you're not left with too many odd shapes here. Right, so we get the pan back on the stove. It's on a medium heat. We're also going to add a tablespoon of olive oil to it. Don't want a huge deal. Veggie oil, canola, whatever takes your pick or fancy, you know. The onions and garlic in first. So in they go. That little cheeky sizzle, that's what we're after. Without dropping the onions over the stove, which I totally failed at, but that's okay. Right, so let's give this a little mix up. So you don't want to burn this. You want to cook it down for a couple of minutes until it's softened up. If you get a little bit of caramelization, that's fine. Just don't burn it. Right, so while that's cooking down, we can start dicing down the bell peppers. So just take the cheeks off. Take the bottom. You can just cut the corners off. Or if you want to cut it in half, split it in open, it's entirely up to you, whichever way you prefer to do it. So lots of different options there. Let's take the little pith off. So slice this down. Also, don't forget about the onions. Keep an eye on them. Right, so that's going to go straight into the pot. So let's flick that up. So in goes the pepperoonies. And just give that a little stir. So let that cook down. It's on a low heat. Steadily simmering away. Not simmering, but softening up the veggies. Okay, so tomatoes, we'll get these done. I'm going to give these a bit of a wash because they're a bit, not soily, I just noticed in the packet it was a bit, So I'm just going to give them a wash. It's always good to wash your veggies. Especially celery, leeks, scallions, anything like that. It's always worth washing. So, going to have seeds and skin and all. If you want to remove the skins and seeds, and that's fine, you can do that if you want to. Well, honestly, it's a lot of flavour. I'm just going to put it straight in. So this is going to go into the pot, so we're going to switch over. So we're just going to drop the tomatoes in there now. All those beautiful juices as well from the tomatoes. So we're going to let that cook down for about a minute, and then we're going to start searing off the beef. Right, I need a tablespoon of olive oil in here, vegetable oil, canola, whichever your preference is. Don't go too crazy with it, just a little smidge. Don't put all the beef in the pan. If you put it all in, it's just going to stew. You want to put little by little, just so it can start browning off. If you chuck it all in, it's not going to brown, so be patient with it. Just chuck a little bit by little bit. Don't obviously overfill it, but just enough to cover the pan. Right, so browning off very nicely. So the meat's going to go straight into the pan. Let me grab a little little kitchen roll, just to wipe the sides from the grease so it's not burning on top of the stove. There we go. Even though I've got to give it a clean later on, it doesn't matter, but still. And now the next lot of beef's going in. Right, before we put that in the wash, all that beautiful flavour that's on the bottom, I'm going to add about roughly 200 ml of water, about a cup or so. Just deglaze that pan. Just get all that beautiful flavour in there. The can of tomatoes are going in. You can use whichever tomatoes you want. Also rinse out the can with a bit of water, and then just pop that straight in the pot as well. Now it might seem quite watery to you, but that's fine. It's going to be cooking down for about 2 hours, so it needs that water to help cook down and evaporate. So and just help bind all the flavors together. So don't worry, it's not going to be slushy and sloppy like this. It's going to come down to a nice consistency after 2 hours. We're just going to add a teaspoon of Marmite, which I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, but this is going to really help enriching it. We're going to let this cook down on a low heat just for about 2 hours. Check it in an hour. Obviously go back and forth every 15 minutes. Give it a little stir, just so it doesn't catch and burn. Let's get the veggies prepped up next, because I want to get them done. I also want to get a pan of water onto the stove, just to blanch off the broccoli. So we're going to top this up with water, and we're just going to boil off the broccoli for roughly about 5 to 10 minutes, just until soft and tender. Then we're going to refresh it, and then we're going to finish it off later on when we serve it up. So just getting that cooking process of the broccoli done out and out the way. So anyway, we're going to grab our little broccolis. So I'm going to floret them down. 8 by 8 inch and 20 by 20 centimeter glass dish we're going to be using today. So that will be for the lasagna we're going to be using. Spinach and kale. Let me get some of that out with a colander. Right, so we want 2 good handfuls of spinach. I haven't quite got 2 handfuls of spinach here because we used up the spinach in the week for all our healthy smoothies and things. So, but that's okay. That'll be enough. But on the recipe, it'll be a bit more than just that. I'll just compensate with a little bit more kale. Also, we're going to get a one or 2 garlic cloves grated down. Probably 1 clove will be fine. Ready to cook down in the pan for the spinach and the kale, and obviously the broccoli. Right, what did I want? Cheese parm. Now you can grate this because it's quite firm. Part skim mozzarella, it's a lot more firmer than regular mozzarella. So I'm going to go with slices, but just be careful with it. It's sometimes a little tricky to slice. So don't go slipping and sliding with it, because that's when you're going to cut your fingers. So just take your time with it. Be very careful, especially when you get to the end piece like I've got here. Polenta. So we need 1 cup, which is about 160 grams, which is corn grits. So corn grits, same thing as polenta. So we're on about 160 grams. Right, I also want, I'm going to go for 450 ml, but 400 ml because I've got 170, so just a little touch more. Right, so let's put this onto a medium high. Nah, let's go for a medium, because if it gets too high and then it starts spitting in your face, if it starts getting a little bit leery, what do you mean by that? It gets a little bit crazy and starts spitting, just turn the heat right down to a low heat. And see where we're at with it. Look at that. Look at the consistency change. Goodness me, sorry the lighting. Lighting's terrible in here. There you go. Don't want it totally dry, but also at the same time, we want to touch the sauce in there. Oh! I may have missed a little bit. Chef, you messy bugger. I know. I'm so sorry. It's just one of these things that happens that I get a little bit in a mess. Here we go. Now we're going to put on the parm. Right, so Part skim mozzarella. Hence why it looks a little firmer than regular mozzarella, my friend. I'm very careful. As I said, it's firming up pretty damn quick, so just kind of trying to spread it as best as I can. Not making too much mess. And if you need to cut a bit more mozzarella, then go for it. Right, let's turn this bad boy on. Bake, yes please, 350, 27 minutes, that seems about legit. Lasagna. And then, but I am here. I am here. There we go, look at that. Look at that, chat. I don't know if you're wowing at the lasagna or mirror. Right, let me quickly cook down the spinach, the kale, with the garlic. I'm going to put this onto a medium heat. I'm going to add about a tablespoon of oil to this. You don't want too much, just a little bit, and then start sauteing off that ground garlic, or grated garlic, shall we say. Once it starts cooking, don't burn it, but just let it cook down for about roughly 30 seconds, and then we're going to add the leaf, the kale, the spinach, and then once that's wilted down, we're going to add the broccoli, cook that through, and then we're good to serve. Right, so that's cooking down. I'm going to add the leaf. So it's the kale, the spinach. Right, a squeeze of lemon juice in there as well. Right. Oh boy. Oh boy, chat. Oh my goodness me. I got the shakes as well. So there we go, chat. There is our gluten-free polenta lasagna. So two main components, which is the polenta. So we pretty much had 160 grams or 1 cup of polenta with 400 to 450 ml of milk, which is roughly about 13.5 fluid ounces. We also had 50 grams of parmesan, but we first cooked out the milk and the corn grits. Once that smoothened out and absorbed all the milk, we added the parmesan, made sure it's cooked out, seasoned it, tasted it, and seasoned it, and then that was pretty much good to go. Also layered it with some part skim mozzarella as well on there between the layers. And as for the meat mix was very straightforward. So we had 550 grams or 1.2 pounds of ground minced beef. We also had 1 onion diced down. We also had 4 cloves of garlic, grated, peeled and grated. We also had 1 bell pepper, de-seeded, chopped down into nice little dice, and 2 tomatoes, or 4 little small tomatoes. So we sauteed off the onions, added the garlic, we added the peppers, the tomatoes, took that off the heat. We also put a frying pan on the stove, or a non-stick pan with a little bit of oil, seared off the meat little by little till nice and brown, and then straight into the pan. Then we added a can of tomatoes into it, and then we added a teaspoon of dried basil, a teaspoon of dried oregano, a teaspoon of Marmite, and then topped up with a little bit of water, cooked it down on a low heat for about roughly 2 hours, tasted, seasoned, good to go. We layered it up in the oven for about 25 to 30 minutes on 180 Celsius or 350 Fahrenheit, and pretty much finished the top with some part skim mozzarella to get that nice golden delicious glaze. So that's pretty much it. And obviously not forgetting the veggies as well. Don't forget our beautiful veggies, which we did. So pretty much spinach, broccoli, and kale. Just pretty much blanched off the broccoli, added garlic to the pan with a little bit of lemon juice at the end, but putting in the spinach and the kale, then the broccoli, and then adding the lemon juice, mixing it up, give it a season, and serve it with the lasagna. And if you want to change up the veggies, you can always change up the veggies. Anyway, chat, have a great rest of your day. I'll see you tomorrow. All the loves. Bye for now, my friends.